Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station is ready for the event.
Space.com, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station for a voice check.
Station, this is Miriam Kramer with Space.com. How do you hear me? I'm sorry, I can't hear anything from Rick.
Okay, I just heard somebody there.
Oh, great. Hi, Rick. This is Miriam Kramer. Thanks so much for chatting with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
So some people have trouble just picking a Super Bowl watch party or dealing with time differences during the Olympics, but crew members on the space station have to contend with trying to keep up with sports from hundreds of miles above the Earth. So we're getting excited here in New York because the Super Bowl is in our neck of the woods this year. Are you looking forward to the big game on the station?
Oh, yes. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Of course, we're not going to be able to watch it real time up here, but hopefully Houston will uplink a version of it the next day or within a few days, and we'll get to watch it. So we just got to be careful nobody tells us the score before we do that.
Great. And are you rooting for somebody in the game, Seahawks or Broncos?
Well, you know, I think I'm leaning towards the Denver Broncos. I don't feel strongly about either team, but it'd be great to see Peyton Manning win another Super Bowl.
Great, yeah. And as a Tennessee native, I am also rooting for the Broncos. We have heard that the space station has about the wingspan of a football field. So have you guys ever tried to play football on the station? And is there even a football on board?
Oh, we have all manner of sports equipment up here. I know on my last mission we actually played a little bit of baseball, you know, kind of in slow motion. You got to be careful up here. There's a lot of scientific equipment and expensive things that you don't want to break. But every once in a while, yeah, we have some fun up here. We don't have a lot of time for it, but we do have some fun up here time to time.
Great. And also the Olympics are coming up in February. Do you expect any friendly international competition between crew members during those games?
Oh, yeah, I think so. You know, we've got the Japanese astronaut, we got 3 Russian astronauts, and then you got Mike and I from the United States. And I think there'll be some friendly competition, especially, you know, maybe if the hockey teams, Russian and U.S. hockey teams meet head-to-head. That would be always interesting. Maybe we'll place a bet with some food items or something.
What kind of food items can you bet on? Do the Russians have something on their side that you guys might want versus?
Oh yeah, you know the key up here is getting something different every once in a while. When you're up here for such a long time, even though we do have a wide variety of food, it starts to get a little bit old. So anytime you can get something a little different, it's definitely a treat. So I'm sure the Russians have a lot of good food, and there's a lot of things that we have that they enjoy also.
Great. And which Olympic winter sport do you think would be the most fun to play in weightlessness?
Oh boy, it's hard to say about an Olympic sport in weightlessness, especially the Winter Olympics. You know, we don't have much snow up here, other than outside when we're you know, doing a spacewalk like we had last month with the ammonia snowstorm. It's you know, the kind of thing we do up here is more like gymnastics. You know, when we're floating around and spinning around, you kind of feel like a gymnast, or how a gymnast must feel when they're doing those incredible feats. Of course, they have a lot more difficulty doing it in the 1G environment.
That's great. That actually leads right into a question that we got from a reader. Drives Hyman on Facebook asks how orientation works on the space station. So how do you keep yourself from being disoriented in microgravity?
Yeah, that's a good question because there is no up and down here in space. And it's easy to get disoriented, especially if you start working and you start kind of putting your head inside a locker or behind a rack. Once you come out of that locker or rack, you're like, okay, where am I? And so usually what I do is I'll reorient myself to a kind of like a 1G orientation where the deck is the floor, and I put my feet on the deck, and then my brain kind of recognizes where I am. But a lot of times we float around sideways or upside down, and it's no issue. But every once in a while, I have to reestablish my orientation by just kind of getting my feet on the deck.
Great. And we have a question from Robert Perlman, the editor of CollectSpace.com, one of our partner sites. And he writes, the Olympic torch you and your crewmates had aboard the station will be seen by millions more when it's used during the opening ceremonies at the Games. So what message about the space station or the symbolic connection between space and what message do you have about the space station and the symbolic connection between space exploration and the Olympics?
Well, that's easy. I think the key phrase is international cooperation. Both the Olympics and the International Space Station are great examples of what folks can do when they get together. All these different countries get together and kind of try to accomplish something. The Olympics are an incredible event. All these different nations from around the world get together to participate in the athletic events. And look at the International Space Station. Again, you got many countries from all around the world building hardware, and then we assembled it in orbit, and it had to fit together perfectly. So international cooperation is the key to being successful in anything.
Great. And I know that you won't be able to watch the Super Bowl live, but do you think you'll get a chance to watch some of the Olympic Games live?
Oh, yeah, I think so, very much so. We'll have some of the Olympic events sent up to us, tape delayed, basically. But we'll also get some live events. I think on the weekends, they will uplink a TV station for us, and of course, we'll ask for the Olympic events to be sent up to us. So I think on weekends is a very good possibility we'll get to see some of the events live.
Great. And is there one that you're particularly looking forward to seeing?
Well, you know, I like a lot of the events in the Winter Olympics, the speed skating and some of these different skiing events are pretty interesting to me. Anything where there's a lot of speed seems a little more interesting.
And actually, circling back to the Super Bowl, I know that Mike Hopkins, your fellow NASA astronaut on the station, is pretty into football. So are you two rooting for the same team this year? Is there any tension there?
I just heard Mike yell out Broncos, so I guess we're rooting for the same team. Mike's a big college football fan. He watches it, he watches it and tracks college football. I'm more of a professional football fan, and of course I'm a big New York Giants fan since I'm up from around that area. And it would have been great to see them in the Super Bowl this year, but that didn't happen. But sounds like we're going to be rooting for the same team in the Super Bowl.
That's great. And do you have any Super Bowl traditions that you're going to miss this year that you would be doing back on Earth?
Oh, my usual Super Bowl tradition is sitting in my chair watching the game in my living room or study. So obviously that's going to be quite a bit different, but we're going to have a great vantage point from up here, and I'm looking forward to watching a great game.
That's great. And we have another question from a reader. Mohammed Shivan on Twitter asks what your favorite city is to look at from space. So you take some great photos and post them on Twitter, but do you have a favorite place to look at when you pass over?
Well, you know, I don't know if I have a favorite city. The easiest one, obviously, is New York City in the Northeast. Because you got Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., you got New York City, you have Boston, you have all these major cities all in one place, and then you look down and it's like looking at a map, especially at night. You could see all the big cities all well lit up. So the Northeast of the United States is where I know that area the best, of course, so it's easiest to recognize. But all the major cities around the world are very interesting to look at, and if you get the right vantage point, they're beautiful, and you can get some fantastic pictures of almost any of them.
Much for chatting with us today, Rick. Really appreciate it. Have a great day on the station.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Take care.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you,